All right, Dricus Du Plessis, the middleweight champion of the world, who has a lot of options on his hands, is supposedly going to fight in Sydney in February. And supposedly, the opponent should be Sean Strickland.
Here's the thing, guys.
But Sean Strickland is basically refusing the fight. He's saying that he doesn't want to go down under. He wants to fight in Vegas in March. On Twitter, he said, "We're not fighting in Australia. We're thinking Vegas in March. I have nothing but love for the Aussies, but I don't think your government likes me," which I take as a compliment. Hate speech isn't real, and I'll always speak up for my kangaroo homies. Well, listen, regardless, never mind speaking up for them, you got to speak up for yourself. He wants to fight for the middleweight strap. Of course, he rebounded from that very close loss to Dricus when they first fought. He beat Paulo Costa, okay, and now he's sitting on the sidelines. And we all thought, well, maybe the winner between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev, they could step in and steal that title shot. Well, we know what happened. We saw Khamzat Chimaev go out there and absolutely destroy Robert Whittaker. Love Rob, but this is the facts, and he knows it as well. He didn't just beat him, he crushed his face in. On one image, it looked like he shattered his jaw, but all I saw was teeth pushed in and all the rest of it. Unbelievable performance from Khamzat Chimaev, still undefeated, and the man is willing to fight. He wants to smash everybody, brother.
What do you do for a living? Smashing people.
Okay? The man wants to smash, and so does Dricus Du Plessis.
Let me bang, man. I want to do that, man. Let me bang, bro.
Dricus wants to fight him as well, and that is why Sean Strickland, I would suggest, has got to be pretty careful here. And this is why I respect Dricus Du Plessis, because he wants the toughest test. Yes, all right, he fought Sean Strickland, and it wasn't an easy fight, but he knows he can beat him, and you would think that getting a second go, he might get it done even better this time. Granted, all fights are different. Maybe Sean Strickland would win the rematch, but he wants to fight Khamzat because he presents a bigger challenge, and of course, the man's undefeated. He's the talk of the town. He's crushing people's faces in with rear naked chokes. He says that, I'm not going to go out there and defend takedowns against Khamzat Chimaev. No, I'm going in there to kill him,
I don't see him coming in with a different game plan, and me neither. I'm going out there to attack. I'm going there to kill him. I'm not going out there to defend Khamzat's takedowns.
And that's the way you got to fight Khamzat Chimaev. You've got to go forward. You cannot try and point around and use your feints and use your timing and use your jab and stick and move. No. You got to go forward. You got to swing. You got to do damage. You got to try and put Khamzat Chimaev on the back foot. Because if you don't, we know what's going to happen. Your head's going to get crushed. It's going to get popped like a balloon, okay? That is what Khamzat Chimaev is capable of. He also went on to describe a fight with Khamzat Chimaev as absolute chaos.
Like absolute chaos. If you look at my thoughts.
Now, Sean beat Paulo Costa. He's been waiting on the sidelines. He wants what's rightfully his in his mind. And it seemed that they were going to throw down in Australia, in Sydney, on pay-per-view. Sounds great. Sign me up. However, now Sean's saying that he won't fight in Australia, and Khamzat Chimaev is on a roll. The man's still undefeated and doing big things. So Sean Strickland's got to be really, really careful here, because if you wait on the sidelines, we've seen what happens. Sitting around and waiting for what you think you're entitled to, yeah, sure, I get his point. But Khamzat Chimaev's undefeated. He's doing big things. He's making statements. And that's what counts in this sport. And it's about, what have you done for me lately? And tell me, there's not a person on planet Earth right now that wouldn't want to see Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. I am not campaigning against Sean Strickland. I like Sean Strickland. We've got a good relationship. We used to train with each other back in the day, and I think he's funny. But if he wants to fight for the middleweight strap, he's got to go where they tell them. Never mind the government, never mind the taxes. By the way, the taxes don't matter. The taxes will get eradicated from your tax bill in the United States. You get a tax credit, it doesn't matter. Trust me, as a man that's fought on almost every single continent on planet Earth, I know how it works with the taxes. Yeah, immediately when you get your paycheck, you look at it and you're like, holy shit, they've just taken 30% out of my fight purse. But when you get back home to America, they will deduct that from the taxes that you pay at the end of the year anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And the government doesn't really matter. Of course, the Australian government aren't going to like Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's a wild guy. And that's why there's 50% of the population that love him, and there's 50% that absolutely can't stand his guts. He says a lot of very controversial things.
Thank you.
He's trying to stir the pot. He's trying to mix it up. He's trying to be offensive for the sake of being offensive. Or maybe that's just the way he feels. Regardless, who cares or not whether the government likes you? You got one job. You're not going down there and running to be a politician, okay? You're going down there to whoop some ass.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Simple as that, and get your middleweight title back. That is the bigger picture here. Not dealing with jet lag, the time difference, different food, kangaroo meat, and a government that doesn't like you. By the way, the kangaroo meat is absolutely delicious. I thoroughly recommend it.
Have you ever eaten kangaroo? No.
No, Sean's going to get his shit together here because if he's not careful, he's going to lose out in a title fight. And that might be something that he never sees again. He might never get that shot again. You never know what's going to happen. Another contender might come through the ranks, make a big splash, a big statement, or maybe he gets sick, maybe he gets injured in training. We just don't know. Nothing is guaranteed in this life. What I do know is that if the UFC have offered Sean Strickland a matchup in Sydney against Dricus Du Plessis, my advice, brother, 100% you got to take that. Because otherwise, Khamzat Chimaev is going to step into the fold. Simple as that. All right, listen, I've got to rush to the airport because I'm commentating tomorrow. In the main event, we have the one and only Prates going up against the veteran Neil Magny. Neil Magny, we all love this guy. He's been around the UFC for a very long time. He's got the most wins and the most fights in the welterweight division. Not an easy accomplishment. The man is a true veteran, so much experience. But on the flip side, we've got Prates. This man is an absolute phenomenon. I love watching this guy fight. He's had 4 fights in the UFC so far. All of them finishes and all of them done in sensational fashion. The way that he knocked out Li Jingliang, before that Charles Radke, held one hand, rocked him with the other one, continued to hold the hand, then boom, delivered a crushing knee right up the middle, dropped him, simple as that. The man's a finishing machine, and it just goes to show, however you start your career doesn't mean that's the way you're going to end it. Why do I say that? Well, earlier on in his career, Prates had 6 losses. The man's now undefeated in his 10 last fights, and 5, including the one on the contender, under the Zuffa or UFC banner. The man's doing big things and he's got a really good chance against Neil Magny. However, we have seen that Neil Magny has the ability to push back these contenders. Remember what he did to Mike Malott. Mike Malott was the next GSP fighting out of Canada. Good-looking, handsome guy, well-rounded skills, undefeated record. Doing big things in the UFC. Finishing everybody. And guess what? He got off to a good start against Neil Magny, but by the end, Neil Magny took him down in round 3, got the mount position and got the finish. Unbelievable. So this is a real test for Prates coming into this one. Also in the co-main event, Gerald Meerchart, GM3, goes up against another newcomer, Renier de Ridder, fighting out of Holland and a former ONE FC champion. This man is a submission machine, going up against Gerald Meerchart, and Gerald Meerchart feels that it's his job to defend the UFC's honor. He doesn't want this guy coming over from ONE FC where he thinks he's just going to walk in, beat people up and take over. He wants to prove that, hey, the level of the competition is harder here. And I tell you what, for de Ridder, who is a submission specialist, and if you've never seen him fight, this man finishes most of his fights in the first round. But Gerald Meerchart, this man's a submission machine as well, so this should be a really good one. Luana Pinheiro up against Gillian Robertson and a bunch of other top contenders on the fight card, up-and-comers, you name it. But that main event, Prates, a man that's had over 100 Thai boxing fights whilst living in Thailand. Anyway, what do you think about Sean Strickland? Should he go down there to Australia, or should he say, hey, no, I'm fighting in March? Do you think Khamzat Chimaev would fight in Australia when in February they also have a fight card in Saudi Arabia as well? I'm sure he would rather fight in Saudi Arabia. So it's a little bit all over the place. How do you think all of this pans out? Right, I got to get to the airport. Thanks for watching. By the time you watch this, I'll be in Las Vegas. It's an early one today. It's an early one. I think the main card starts at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 12 o'clock midnight in the UK. Have a good one wherever you are. Subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. See you soon.